Alright, welcome to another edition of GoogleIsEvil, formerly What the Fuck, but whatever. It's always problems and reactions to problems, and you have to, try to react appropriately to the appropriate problem and all of that crap. So I have reacted to the problem of Google running the internet by now and then pointing out that Google's evil. And unfortunately, most people just can't get it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Of course, it does matter. I'm just saying it doesn't matter because, there's so many problems that need a solution that, this is the least of our concern. Frankly, I don't think it is. It is sort of a big problem, and, if you can't solve these, these are easy to fix problems, by the way. A little bit of legislation and it's fixed. But whatever. I mean, if you can't fix the simple ones, what's the hope on the big ones, right? Oh, it's just so dismal. So the video I made is titled "The Truth Sucks," and it's very depressing. The facts are just awful. There's just so few good facts. It's good that we have brains and they do work, or they can do logic, so we have hope. But, there's so many impediments to people doing that logic that, it diminishes the hope substantially. So anyway, we'll jump through this and usual routine, blah, 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 blah. There's not much value I can add. It's sort of an evolution to conversation again. Okay, I'm just sort of explaining why I am quite confident that having kids is the last thing somebody should be doing. It's really the little bottom of the list. You can do lots of horrible things before having kids. You can even rape a few women. You could probably do a lot of stuff and cause less harm as a practical fact. You could do a lot of damage, and you wouldn't be doing as much damage as you're doing if you're making another sentient being that will play a very cruel game. And if your little child is happy, it's going to be at a very high price, and that's really dumb. Anyway, this would be evolution. In terms of, so I use the word evolution, but it's evolution of chemistry. And what I really wanted to sort of get to, I wanted to ground a little harder, is I do have a physics channel, and the physics is it's just the real universe, and the one that's really making everything happen, the one where it really happens, where something really does move and stuff really is happening in this thing called space. The little tiny things are making it all happen, and they're so damn simple. The rules are just, it's 2 plus 2 plus 2 physics. There's just, you could just say there's just 6 themes, and that's it, and the whole thing runs on those 6 ideas, those 6 functions. And yes, but it leads to all of this. But you could argue, yeah, well, so does like your computer screen. You could think of it as just, if it was just on and off pixels, you could make an image with just on and off. And if you had 3 different versions of on and off, like 3 ons and 3 offs, like, 6 shades, well, then you can make even more, complex images. You can do a lot of things with just 6 functions. Is the point. But it's still just 6 functions. It's still just this simple mechanism that's creating all of this that seems quite, wow, look at all this different stuff. But it's it's all doing a very similar thing. It's just the outcome is different, based on ... dash versus dash dot versus just different arrangements of the same very simple things. They're little bits with And the bottom line is that suns are producing this and that. Okay, so we're just getting to the elements. Okay, so you got these, you got this really simple mechanical, physical rules of the universe, which are only these 2 plus 2 plus 2 physics, 2 forces, 2 kinds of matter, 2 kinds of interaction. You could tell the whole story. And then that makes, when you let it loose in the universe, you can form 100 of these different arrangements of these electrons and protons into these atom things. And there's only 100 of them, and a few isotopes, which are just variations, slight variations. But that's all there is. And then out of that 100 things, you can make a zillion things. A bazillion different arrangements of those 100 things. It's kind of like the alphabet and words. You have an unlimited capacity, essentially, to make words once you have these 27 or whatever it is letters. I mean, that's the kind of thing I should know, right? You should know how many letters there are. That, should have been, but that's just, I really hated English. I mean, I hated, my brain just never really liked to understand language at all. Yeah, it's just kind of funny that it was just found it obnoxious, but whatever. So it's one of those facts that I just don't know. Ends up making it this other chemistry. So you have I have to jump. Force of complexity accepts some sort of evolution. Yeah, so that, I think this is kind of everything has to evolve. You can't even imagine how something just has attributes, So even if you think there's a God, don't you have to come up with some way that God got here? I mean, you can't just show up with infinite intelligence and whatever. I mean, come on, it doesn't make any sense. So you're still going to be stuck with some sort of process, some sort of building process, unless you're just, making up such a piece of crooked to throw into your model of reality. It's just crooked. It's just silly to think it's possible that something could always exist with infinite anything. And then if it's finite intelligence, but he exists for an infinite amount of time, then his intelligence should somehow get less. It should certainly change and advance with time. And that's sort of, it's funny. Okay, at least the Christian biblical story almost has that in it, where God learned, from the flood. Oh yeah, well maybe I overreacted. He's second guessing himself a little, which is kind of funny. The whole poofed intelligence is just, it's just too silly. I mean, it's just so fucking silly. I mean, I just can't. You're just like, come on. The more you think about it, the more harder it gets to even. What are you talking about? All right, it already knows 2 plus 2. It knows exactly how much my finger hurts, or I mean, come on, it's crazy. It'll become the dominant structure. All right, so then it's just evolution is this cruel system where it's like the lottery, except that it's a lottery in a real catastrophic way, where you're betting your life. It's like you're betting your life to buy the ticket. Okay, and then one guy gets to live and 500 die. It's this kind of relationship. It's very cruel, very brutal. You're playing for real torture, and it's so for every winner that walks around, every pretty bird, every blah blah blah, every success story, there's a whole bunch of failure stories that you don't see because they got eaten by the maggots. It's just a insidiously bad economy. I mean, the waste, and it's just insane. Or adapting in the sense that you can modify your function to either or environment. Right, so that was our tool. One of the tools we had was adaptability. So instead of being pre-programmed with reactions, reflexes, we are able to have our reflexes conditioned to the environment we're in. So we learn to react to the environment. We learn to walk in the water or walk on the land or walk in the mountain or walk, we can be anything we need to be to suit an environment. And that's why, most mammals are pretty adaptable. They'll find a way to survive in very different environments. The reflexes, devoting them to a higher purpose than mere gratification of so we have the tool of our brain, and so the brain can just step out of the game entirely. The natural, visceral, what do I feel? What do I need to do? The program written by what's the word for that? Again, this getting old thing. You have to search for really simple words. It's instinct. So, we can step way out of any kind of pre-programming, any of our archaic, primitive primate style reactions. We can rise way above that and interact with the world in a very, just by concepts and words reacting. All the action can happen inside of our brain, okay, inside of the model in our brain. And we don't have to physically, interact at all. Biological system mechanisms that, okay, whatever I was saying there, same thing, but you can, they go through the struggle of their own resistance, and they have to wait for something. Right, so the compulsion and all it's really designed for is to make all those hard choices, to scheme answers to difficult questions. Should I go out and get my food? Well, the bear might eat me. And we have to make these decisions. So I use the example of the gazelles, deciding to cross the river full of crocodiles, and that they have to wait for the trigger. They have to wait for the reflexes running through their brains has to, they're triggering. Everything is triggering. They've got to wait for the trigger that says go. Okay, do it. The answer, the decision. And they remain indecisive and, balancing, and finally there has to be some final little straw that, makes the decision to, I'm just going to stay here and starve to death, or I'm going to, and it's not so much that they know they're going to starve to death. It's just that probably the hunger motivates them, or some other, timing question, or some other well, everybody else is gone, I better go. I don't want to be the last one. There's some competitive reason, some strategic reason that finally triggers the go. But it's just a trigger. That's all we are. We're just triggered all the time. Trigger. Just words trigger us, images trigger us, colors trigger. We're just trigger. To time, thinking time, to understanding what the big game is basically saying is this is a terribly trivial and cruel and stupid and wasteful game. Right, so, the whole, like I said, it's almost insulting our intelligence how base and silly our desire mechanisms are, and how, they're just so crass in a way. I mean, so demeaning to our fellow humans. We desire somebody's company based on how good they look, how cute are they, how far their eyes are, how, stupid little bullshit. It just insults us that we're so trivial in how many of our triggers are so trivial, how they're occupied with such petty, competitive bullshit. But it's just a fact of the game, and if you're going to play the higher game, then you're going to be constantly aware of what an asshole you are, and you're going to be constantly trying to mitigate against the asshole that the substance of your triggers are creating. Yeah, so I'm just saying the basic, if you take the facts as they are of what the universe is doing, it's just making machines. We're just machines. We're very robotic. Yeah, so, you know, it takes all the... I mean, it's just machines making machines, making machines, making machines, making, you know, it's just machines all the way down. There's no, you know, we're already artificial. You know, we're already just a calculating device, and it just happens to be where you grow up, where you're born, and it decides who you're going to be. And that's, you know, another humiliating fact, is I'm just a reflexive reaction to the world. I'm just the byproduct of mixing a few different ingredients and blah, and I didn't have anything to do with it. You know, it's just, yeah, very mechanical. We're not doing, yeah, so mechanical part, blah 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 blah. Oh, look at that, we're already at the end, and it's not the end. I must have talked a little over. Word for when you're cheating your own capacity to do logic. Yeah, so just about how scummy, you know, people are. I mean, you really, the facts are pretty well established about this evolution thing, certain facts, and it's just these people just running from the truth, and it's an abysmal thing to do with the stakes as high as they are. You know, so much, you know, the real horror. And it happens to all these people, and they just pretend it away. You know, I mean, they don't learn from any example. They, you know, just, they see it happen to people where deserve has nothing to do with it. And then they set it up to produce a new player who deserve won't have anything to do with it. You know, the outcome could be catastrophically horrid. And it's all your fault, frankly, and, you know, you have no control, and here you are subjecting it to that, and it's just, it's so rude. Yuck. Yeah. And it's just because you haven't felt it yet. It hasn't happened to you. The injustice hasn't shown up and knocked on your door yet. You know, the Nazis haven't come for you. So somehow it's not a, you know, it's not a problem. Yeah, wait till it's your turn, and then you'll be lamenting. Oh, you know, why didn't anybody say anything? Why didn't anybody tell? Why didn't anybody? Yeah, because you didn't want to hear it. That's why. You wouldn't. You did everything you could to shut it up. You know, the warning signs. You did everything you could to throw mud on any warning signs that showed up anywhere. Yeah. So anyway. So that was basically the video. It's, you know, consistent with an inmendham video, but I don't know. You know, it's you know, again, what's the conversation going to look like? You know, what language do you speak it in? Which, you know, what style do you use to say this basic, simple thing? That can't you see how inefficient this is? How expensive existence is? Can't you just acknowledge it's too expensive? That if it was all on you, if all the cancer and all the horrors and all the, you know, crap that happens to humans and animals alike was on you, it was your job to impose it, you could do it? Because you think it's such a great deal? I mean, you know, you could go out there and be a little, you know, inject the cancer into the kids. But it's worth it, because that kid over there is going to dance and sing and prance in a play or something. He's going to feel all cool and happy with himself because he successfully pranced. Yeah, that's, you know, that's what you're going to get for your torture. Shit. Too stupid. Sounds like a time bomb out there. Anyway, somebody's ticking. What people do with their time, the noises they make, just, you know, whatever. I'm sure. Yeah. People. God. Just, you can't even say anything because it's all politically incorrect, but oh, fuck. It's just, most people are just, they're beneath the dignity of animal. I mean, they're not even doing animal right. Ugh. No, anyway. Till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. Yeah, that's enough. This has been Google is Evil. Do not God.com video presentation and such, so forth and whatnot.